Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Origins Land Shark. I've been really excited about this one because the Land Shark is a favorite vehicle of mine from the vintage Masters of the Universe toy line, and I just love seeing more vehicles and more of these bigger items coming into the Origins lineup. I think it's really exciting, and also, once again, Mattel has given us some amazing packaging for this vehicle. Once again, Origins is killing it with the boxes, specifically because of this absolutely beautiful box art up here at the top. So the packaging is very reminiscent of what we would have seen the window boxes look like in that vintage toy line, complete with some original artwork, nice bright colors, Skeletor in the Land Shark, Snake Mountain in the background. I love that you can see like Trapjaw and Clawful up there. Just some absolutely gorgeous box art. This is certainly one of those packages where I can see collectors wanting to keep this thing in the box because it's so beautifully displayed. Like, you can perfectly see the item inside. We've got beautiful box art. It is killer, and I absolutely love it. And then when you rotate that box around to the backside, not only do we get a cross-sell across the bottom, showing several figures that are currently available, but up above that, we've also got even more great artwork there of Skeletor, Battle Armor Skeletor even, in the Land Shark there. I love that we've got Fisto and Stinkor on there, which are some characters we know are coming a little later in the year, so really, really incredible stuff. So, box art aside, it's amazing, but I am going to go ahead and rip this bad boy open so we can get a closer look at the vehicle within. So let's do it. All right, so here we are with the Land Shark outside of the box. Now, very minor assembly on this. Basically, you just have to clip on one of the treads and one of the guns right outside of the package, but it snaps right into place. The tread piece is not really even meant to come back off once you snap it back into place. The guns themselves, they can actually pop back off if that's something that you want to do. I'll show you that more here in just a little bit, but otherwise, there's no other assembly required. So let me go ahead and bring in the tape measure here. I want to show you guys that this stands about 12 inches in length, height-wise, about 4 inches tall, maybe a little bit above that. In reality, this isn't very much bigger than the vintage Land Shark, and we'll see that side by side later on in the video, but it's only about an inch and a half or so longer than the original release. But it looks great, and they really did that thing where you can tell they just took cues from that vintage vehicle and just brought it to life again for Masters of the Universe Origins, because everything from the design, the color scheme, even the stickers, they all look very vintage. They look like they come straight out of the original toy line. So speaking of the stickers, you did not have to put those on yourself with this. The stickers are already pre-attached to the vehicle, and they look almost identical to the vintage stickers, same kind of thing. One thing I want to point out is my stickers are peeling a little bit, so definitely keep an eye out for that. I noticed that straight out of the box, like I just had a corner that was kind of folded down, so that's something you want to watch out for. And then up here you can see the control panel itself is also a sticker, and like I said, all of those were already on the vehicle. You got the eye over here on each side of the shark as well. So just like on the vintage, the little tank treads on the side aren't real tank treads. That's just plastic. You can see it's all just a solid color blue, no extra paint details or anything there. The actual wheels are on the underside, so they do roll. You got the free rolling ones on the back here, and then the front one is actually the mechanism that will make the action feature work, which is the biting shark mouth, which as you can see, that works incredibly well. Roar. I mean, every time I get this thing out, all I can think of is the original commercial, Land Shark, boom, boom. It's really fun. It works really well. So that's one thing I definitely want to commend them on. Now, the overall feeling of this vehicle is actually pretty good. There is some nice weight to it, probably because of that mechanism on the inside. So the entire thing does feel nice and sturdy. The teeth on the front are definitely more of a pliable plastic. This is obviously a safety reason because you don't want to have the really hard, sharp teeth up here where kids can get hurt. So, you know, they're decent decently rigid still, but you can see that there is flexibility to them. So that way, hopefully nobody really gets hurt or anything like that. But there's the inside of the mouth. You can see there's plenty of room for like chomping on your action figures. Nom, 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 if that's something you want to do. So one of the parts that is a little more hollow and lightweight are with the guns. You can see that the blasters on the side, they are just molded in that gray plastic, and they are hollowed out on the inside. Again, it's totally that thing we see on a lot of modern toys, especially vehicles and play sets. And it does just kind of have that lighter, cheaper feeling to it, to be perfectly honest. Especially since the inside of the gun is so hollowed out. You see the inside of these guns a lot, especially because you look at this vehicle from the side. So I just really don't like that it's not a complete mold. Especially when we compare this to the vintage one later on. Like I said, a lot of this looks just like the vintage, but one thing that was different is the guns were silver plastic and they were fully molded all the way around, so they just looked a lot better. One of the things I do want to point out on these guns that's kind of neat is they redesigned the front of the turrets here so that they look like little shark heads. Look at that. There's little fins and little shark heads. I don't know. I thought that was super fun. Really interesting to see them actually go and redesign something on the vehicle. It's exactly the same on both sides. That is another place that's different from the vintage, because the vintage had two different types of guns. It was a double barrel on one side and a larger single barrel on the other. So this time we just have kind of matching double barrel shark-headed laser guns. I don't know. I like that redesign. I think that is pretty fun. Okay, so vehicle itself looks pretty good. For the most part, it's solid, and it feels pretty sturdy, aside from the flimsier guns right there. So it's time to bring in some figures, because we got to see what this thing looks like with good old Bonehead here, bringing in Skeletor. So first, I will just stand him next to it, just so you guys can see the size difference between the Origins figures and the Landshark vehicle. Now, when we seat him on the inside, you can see that these turrets are movable. They can move up and down, just like on the vintage, which is really cool. So it definitely helps to put them down when you want to put a figure in the vehicle. You can see that there are like some slots right there for the figure's feet to fit in. So these figures are more articulated than the vintage. But one thing I will note is that they don't get in a perfect seated position. So putting them in the seat is a little tricky. Not that he's not sitting down, but he sits a little too far away from the handles. And this is something I really messed with a lot, especially when I was doing my photos, because I was trying to get a good shot of him like sitting in the cockpit and holding onto the handle. So first of all, the angle at which the handle is opposite from the angle of his gripping hand. Can you see that back there? I just want to make sure that's clear. So it's a bit tough. You almost have to like bend his arm in a certain way to get him to hold on to that handle. And then he can't really reach the other one as good, especially since that's an open hand and it's not gripping. And then he sits kind of weird. So he can't sit perfectly down, like on his butt and holding onto the handles the way I'd like. And this is something else I want to bring in. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in vintage Skeletor, because for one, I want to show you guys what this vehicle looks like with a vintage Masters of the Universe action figure. Look at that gorgeous vintage Skeletor. Just what a perfect figure. I love it. So these guys obviously weren't articulated. Mine's got very loose legs, but they had like the rubber bands. So actually, it's interesting to see how he sits in the seat better, and I can get him to hold on to the rails better, like he sits upright. So it's really interesting, and it's definitely something to do with the way the articulation is on the new figures that just prevents him from getting in a good seated position so that he can sit upright and grab onto both of the handrails. I messed with him for a while. This may not be that big of an issue for you. You might even be able to do it a little better than me, but I really did. I don't really think it's as much of a flaw with the vehicle as it is just with the way the articulation works at the hips on these figures. They just can't get a very good seated pose, and that results in them not being able to grip the handles as well. All right, so the big blasters on the side, they've also got handles up here. It's not one of those things that you can really get the figure to like reach over and hold the handle because it just looks weird and awkward. But like I showed earlier, you can pop these off. Like they just pop right off the little peg right here. So then you've just got this a large giant blaster that Skeletor totally can hang on to if you want him to have a giant oversized cannon that's hollowed out on one side. But it is an option if that's something that you want to do with this. The other thing that I wanted to do was purely out of curiosity. I wanted to bring in the Masters of the Universe Classic Skeletor, which of course was the 7-inch scale line, just because we didn't get the land shark in that line. So I was curious if this new larger land shark would work with classics for anybody that might want to add that to their classics collection. And size-wise, he doesn't look too bad standing next to it. It does look a little small for the 7-inch figures, but where the big problem is that the leg holes in the vehicle don't go deep enough for the longer legs of the 7-inch figures, so you can't actually get the figure sitting down all the way. He's got more articulation, so you can kind of hunch him and make it look like it works, but he definitely looks too big. He's not sitting all the way down on the seat, so unfortunately, this doesn't work as well as I was hoping it would with the Masters of the Universe Classics figures. I do want to go ahead and show this with the Masters of the Universe Classics Roton, because I want you guys to see like the size, to see how they compare with each other, just in case some of you are thinking about still picking this up and displaying it with your classics collection. All right, guys, it's comparison time. So this is my vintage Masters of the Universe Land Shark, and I'll bring it in here to stand right alongside the new one. And I got a couple photos for you guys as well. This is where you can really see what I was talking about. Like, they are almost identical to each other. The stickers are very similar to each other. The colors are very similar. You can see that the size isn't that much different. The new one is only a little bit bigger. And this is what I was talking about too with the cannons. You can see the cannons on the original ones. You got like one larger single barrel on this side and the double barrel on the opposite. And that is different than those little shark-headed ones on the new ones. So that is your difference. You can also see the more silvery plastic on the original laser guns and how they're not hollowed out compared to the new one as well. So just showing these two side by side, they are very similar to one another. It's actually pretty cool. So since we just talked about the vintage one, the other thing I want to bring up, on the vintage one, you could remove the engine from the back. It was just something that just popped right off. You can't do that on the new one. It is permanently attached. So, that's probably by design. They probably didn't make it to be removable, but for those of you that were hoping to have that same removability of the engine, it's not possible with the new one. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Land Shark from the Masters of the Universe Origins toy line. It's a pretty fun toy. It's not without its faults, for sure, but it's still a pretty neat toy, and I've always loved the design of this one, so I love seeing it get a new life, and maybe some kids will be able to get this one and add it to their collections and play with it, because it's a fun toy to play with. So hopefully it'll be easy to find in retail. Now, I got mine from Big Bad Toy Store. I pre-ordered it there. These things have been super hard to find at Target and Walmart. So hopefully you guys will be able to track this one down. Otherwise, I would definitely pay attention to pre-orders online, because that seems to be the best way to collect this particular line. Thank you guys so much for watching. Land Shark. Boom, boom.
The Toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is available for pre-order now. This official guidebook is published by Dark Horse Books and features over 750 pages of photos and information on your favorite He-Man and She-Ra action figures. And don't miss out on the exclusive bundle pack available for pre-order now from PowerCon. This bundle includes the official guide as well as an exclusive character guide supplement that you won't be able to buy anywhere else. Don't miss out. You have the power.